What's going on, guys? I'm Tommy, and I'm coming at you with an action figure review. Today, I'm going to be reviewing Hasbro The Black Series, Qui-Gon Jinn, Darth Maul, and Obi-Wan Kenobi 3-pack from Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Here in the year of 2024, it is the 25th anniversary of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, so Hasbro made sure to get out some Phantom Menace releases for this year, including a refresh of Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, two pre-existing figures in the line, along with another way to get the brand new, newly tooled, newly sculpted, newly articulated Darth Maul. This release is a GameStop exclusive here in the US in 2024. This thing had some weird things going on. I did pre-order this pack, and it got pushed back like 2 or 3 times before it ended up going out for shipment, and it's here now. I'm here to review it, so better late than never, I guess. This is actually what used to be the standard 3-pack style packaging for the Black Series. They've actually since updated the packaging on these 3-packs, but this is what you used to have with kind of that tapered edge on the end with the mural art. Up at the top here, you're going to have your Black Series logo, a nice big plastic window spanning all across the package, showing you all 3 figures and their accessories. Down below the window, you have in this nice kind of dull yellow color, the Phantom Menace subline color. Down here at the bottom, you have the characters' names as well as some logos. On this side, you get some mural art for all 3 characters. You got your Obi-Wan, your Darth Maul, and then Qui-Gon at the top there. On the back of the box, you do get all that mural art blown up quite a bit, so you're able to see those. I think these mural arts look absolutely awesome on this release. And of course, you do get a bio in about 1,000 different languages next to the names of the characters in the Black Series logo. This bio reads, Darth Maul came to Naboo with a mission to destroy Queen Amidala. Instead, he was met with the formidable Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a fateful battle began. That's a pretty cool, short but sweet bio there. I actually really like that. Again, we have the banner with the Phantom Menace name and color of the subline. We have your legalese down at the bottom. Please, guys, don't feed these action figures to your babies. On this side of the box, we have the Black Series logo. On the bottom of the box, we have even more legalese, and on the top, nothing except for a little window to kind of help let that light through into that pack. So now that we've checked out the packaging, let's get these figures opened so we can check them out. Alright guys, here are the figures out of the box, but before we take a look at them, let's take a look at their respective accessories. For Qui-Gon Jinn, you get his lightsaber. It's got a very interesting shade of green for this lightsaber. I don't know how I feel about this. When it comes to my lightsabers, I tend to like the deeper, more vibrant colors as opposed to these lighter colors here. This one's also kind of frosted over, if that makes sense. It's a little bit more translucent than the other ones are. The hilt itself does have some very nice detail. It looks like it's on a black sculpt with some silver paint applications as well as some red for the little button here. I think this lightsaber looks really good. I think they have done really well. They've also sculpted a little peg here for the lightsaber hilt so it can go onto his belt. And of course, the lightsaber blade is detachable. It does remove itself from the hilt very easily, and that's what that looks like removed. Darth Maul comes with his lightsaber from the Phantom Menace. You'll see it does break apart into 2 pieces here. This is because Obi-Wan does chop the lightsaber in half during the Duel of the Fates. If you got this Darth Maul figure in any of the other releases he came out with this year, then you're familiar with this accessory. It's got some really nice, these deep red translucent blades look really, really nice. It's got some silver sculpt with some very minor red paint applications for some of the buttons. Again, a sculpted peg for plugging it into the belt. And you'll see it is a little warped from the packaging. That's nothing that some hot water can't fix, and it is probably going to warp in his hands as well. The lightsaber blades do remove themselves from this hilt, and that's what that looks like, all separated too. And surprise, surprise, Obi-Wan also comes with his lightsaber. So here's Obi-Wan's lightsaber. This is, again, the same release. I actually just recently reviewed one of the original releases of this figure on the channel, if you want to go check that out. This one is done with some nice black, silver, and red. I love the details they got on this, and they did also give him a peg so you can plug his lightsaber into his belt, a nice deep blue. This is what I much prefer with the lightsaber blades. Give me those darker, deeper colors colors. I think they pop a lot more on the shelf than the muted colors you get with that green there. I think that this shows a lot more shelf presence. And of course, this blade is removable from the hilt as well, and that's what that looks like. Okay, now it's time to take a look at these figures. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go left to right here. So we're gonna move Obi-Wan, my selfie series figure, and Darth Maul off to the side, and Qui-Gon is gonna go first, just like he went first in the Duel of the Fates. So basically, this is the same exact release of Qui-Gon Jinn that you would have gotten if you got either of his original releases when the Redbox line was coming out, or the anniversary figure version of him that came out a few years ago now. The only thing new with this guy is that he, for the first time, comes with a soft goods Jedi cloak. This is awesome. I'm very happy with this inclusion, as they do wear the Jedi cloaks pretty frequently in the movie, especially in the first act of the movie. I think that the way they've stitched this hood looks really nice. It makes the hood sit very naturally over his head. It doesn't look, vastly big like a lot of the Jedi hoods do. I'm also noticing some different stitching style that they've went on here to try and get that effect a little bit more. I like the way it looks when it's down too. It looks a lot more natural. It takes a lot less effort to get this to sit properly. I am definitely going to be displaying my Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan with their Jedi cloaks on in this case. However, taking it off is super easy if you want to do that. Just put the figure's arms behind his back and it pops off with great ease. So taking a look at the Qui-Gon Jinn figure here, this guy looks really, really nice. I think the face printing on this looks great. This gives me very, very strong Liam Neeson vibes. The sculpt is good. The paint is good. I think the eyes especially look really, really nice. They even painted on his little ponytail holder on the back of his head. Aside from that though, these Jedi figures from the prequels are very devoid of paint applications for the most part. That's just because their designs are very plain. This guy does have some great paint applications at the belt, however, with some dark brown for the belt itself, as well as plenty of hits of silver, some gold, some little kind of reddish brown colors for some of those other canisters. They've even gone as far as to paint the little screws or rivets on the back of the belt on these other pouches here. You can also see that little hole for the lightsaber hilt sculpted into the belt there. The bottom of the tunic is also a rubbery overlay piece. They've given it some nice wide cuts on both sides here, which should help us with the articulation at the hips here. As I mentioned before, however, this guy is pretty much a redo, a repack of the original Qui-Gon Jinn, so it's going to have a little bit of dated articulation compared to 2024 standards. Qui-Gon's going to have a single ball jointed neck, which is going to get you some little bit of down there, which the ponytail does kind of ride that a little bit, and then when you try to lift his head up, you can't really look up because of the ponytail and the way the hair is sculpted. You can't really get any tilt out of that head as well, but he can look right and left. He doesn't have butterfly joints at the shoulders either. He does have a hinge and swivel. You can get about 90 degrees out of that hinge and a full 360 degrees out of the swivel there. He has some deep cut single jointed elbows. Those get you past that 90-degree mark of the bend, and you do have a swivel at the top of the elbow there. At the wrists, he does have another hinge and swivel system, so the wrists do swivel, and there is a horizontal hinge at the right wrist, as well as another horizontal hinge at the left wrist there. He's got a ball joint at the midsection, which is going to give you some decent range here. The way everything is sculpted kind of limits it, but it's not horrible. He does, if you pull up the tunic here, you can see he's got ball joints at the hips, which have some awesome range. That's something we're looking for with Jedi figures. He's got a cut for a thigh swivel mid-thigh there, and he has one of my least favorite things, the ugly pinned double jointed knees. So you got those knees there. They do have some great range. He can kick his own butt. That's pretty much the maximum the range could possibly go. However, my big gripe with these is obviously how ugly they look from the front. I just try to bend one side of the joint or bend it as minimally as possible to kind of hide those ugly joints. He does have, in true Black Series fashion, a forward-facing pin for rocker at the boots here, as well as a hinge, which has ever so slight forward and plenty of back. Aside from that, that's pretty much it. Not exactly up to par with 2024 standards, but I would say it's definitely passable. Hopefully he can still get some good poses, even without the butterfly joints and things like that. Setting Qui-Gon off to the side, we do now have Darth Maul. Now, I'm going to be a little bit more brief with Darth Maul than I usually am, because I have reviewed this Darth Maul figure twice already this year. I reviewed him, he was my very first review on the channel, actually, being the Darth Maul and Sith Speeder review, and then I did also review the single packed release of him. This guy's kind of an amalgamation of those two releases. So he does come with the soft goods cloak that comes with the Darth Maul from the Sith Speeder set. However, the Sith Sith Speeder set also has soft goods down here at this lower tunic area to help him sit on the speeder. That's a feature that was lacking on the single pack, and it's also lacking on this figure too. If you prefer the soft goods all the way through, it helps a lot with that articulation and just the way that the figure looks when he's in a lower fighting stance. I would definitely recommend getting that Sith Speeder version of Darth Maul. I think he's still in stock on Hasbro Pulse. I could be wrong because we did just pass Black Friday here. So, but aside from that, he does have some very good articulation still. He has some great paint applications and sculpt work on the head. These horns are very sharp. They are going to poke you if you poke them too hard. He's got some great paint applications at the eyes. I can see the yellow and the red in those eyes, and they've even gone as far as to paint on all the head tattoos. Everything looks good. Nothing looks super off. I think it's done very, very well. And aside from that, aside from all the sculpted detail on all of these, soft goods and all of the detail on all the tunics and the boots and everything, it's the exact same Darth Maul figure we've gotten a few times now this year. This will be the third Darth Maul that I've bought this year for the Black Series, and I'm not upset about it. He can bring his hood up just like Qui-Gon, and I'll show Obi-Wan later. This one is great because the horns kind of catch the fabric at the top, so you can really work this one however you want and get it to sit. If you want a little farther back, you can do that. If you want it a little farther forward, just kind of use the horns to catch the fabric, and it's going to sit very, very nicely. You can see that it looks really good on the figure. And aside from that though, getting the cloak off on this guy is going to be a little bit different. So I'd recommend getting the shoulders up in this case, making him do some uppies, and then he can get the soft goods up over the shoulders here. It's going to be, catching on some of the fingers and things like that, so just be wary. However, this is probably how I'm going to end up posing my Darth Maul for this specific look, because this is the Duel of the Fates pack. And then one more time, just giving a quick glance at all of the tunics and things like that. Again, I'm not going to go super in detail like I do with some of my other reviews, because again, I've reviewed this figure. This is the third time this year now. He has some awesome articulation for 2024, however. He has the double ball jointed neck, which has some great range. He can look down, which is great. He can look up, which is awesome. He's got some great tilt, and he can look right and left. He has some butterfly joints here, which, as you can see, have some ridiculous range. He's got the hinge and swivel at the shoulders as well. They get you just past that 90-degree mark, as well as a full 360-degree swivel. He's got deep cut single jointed elbows, which gets you past that 90-degree mark of bend, and have a swivel at the top of the elbow. There is another swivel at the base of the gloves, which is great. And he has ball jointed wrists. The ball jointed wrists are awesome because they give you range in every single direction for those wrists. Great for a dual wielding character like Darth Maul. He's got a ball joint at the midsection, which has some awesome range. It works over and under those overlays on the top and bottom of the torso with great ease. There are so many different individual pieces. You've got 5 individual pieces of overlay at the front, and at the back here, it looks like you've got 3-4 different overlay pieces in the back. Lots of layers, and it looks great. Underneath all of this, you've got ball joints at the hips, which have some amazing range. He also has a cut for a thigh swivel, so it's going to give you some added range there. Deep cut single jointed knees. Those are going to get you past that 90-degree mark, and they get you a swivel at the top of the knee as well. He's also got some boot swivel in here. Now, the sculpting of the pants is going to hinder it just a little bit, but it is still there. And he also has a forward-facing pin for rocker with a hinge that gets you a little bit of forward and gets you a little bit of back as well. Now, this is just going to show how far Black Series has come in just a few short years from the release of this Qui-Gon Jinn figure to Darth Maul. Black Series has been killing it with the advancements in articulation. Moving on, we're going to jump back in time again, checking out my selfie series figure, Obi-Wan Kenobi. A lot of people in the community tell me that I actually look like this figure more than he looks like Ewan McGregor. So I take it as a compliment though, because Ewan McGregor's a good looking guy. So this guy does also have the soft goods cloak. This is again the first time that this figure has come with the soft goods cloak. So you got that. It looks really nice. Again, I'm a fan of how they stitched this. It kind of keeps everything close around the shoulders, so that the hood isn't kind of flying all over the place. Got some great soft goods here, and again, getting it back down behind the head also looks fantastic. Other than that though, it's the exact same cloak that Qui-Gon comes with, so what we're going to do is we're just going to pull this off behind his arms again, and it's very easy to get off. And now we have our Duel of the Fates Obi-Wan. So, taking a look at this guy, like I said, he's got a nice dark wash on that hair. It goes back into the ponytail. It even covers the Padawan braid. This gives a lot of depth to the hair. I think it's a great touch. The face printing on him also looks fantastic. I think they've done a great job with this face printing. And other than that, that's pretty much it. Other than that, again, this is the same as most Jedi from the prequel era. They're very plain. Aside from, of course, the belt. So you have, again, that dark brown paint application, a little bit of black for the peg hole for the lightsaber hilt. You got some gold as well for some of the canisters and cartridges along the belt here, as well as silver on the belt buckle. Other than that, it's a very, very plain figure, but it's accurate to the movie, and that's all I care about at the end of the day. So, taking a look at Obi-Wan's articulation. His articulation is kind of our middle ground. So I'd say Qui-Gon has the worst articulation, Darth Maul definitely has the best, but Obi-Wan is a good middle between the two. Obi-Wan has a double ball-jointed neck, which has some great range. He can look down a little bit, he can look up a little bit as well. However, that Padawan braid being sculpted will kind of float around a little bit. He does have the ability to tilt the head back and forth as well as look right and left. He does have butterfly joints hidden underneath the rubbery overlay that makes up the outer tunic, and that gives you some amazing range in there. He's got a hinge and swivel at the shoulders. That's going to give you a 90-degree bend at the hinge, and it gives you a full 360 degrees worth of swivel. He's got deep cut single jointed elbows here, which gets you well past that 90-degree mark and has a swivel at the top of the elbow. He's also got some hinge and swivels at the wrists. So you got that swivel there with a horizontal hinge at the right wrist and another horizontal hinge at the left wrist. He's got a ball joint to the midsection here, which has some great range considering there is a rubbery overlay at the top of the torso and the bottom of the torso again. This splits nicely so that it doesn't get in the way of the ball joints at the hips, which have some really, really nice range. There's also a cut for a thigh swivel at the mid-thigh here, which gives you some added range. And he's got the double jointed pinned knees, which I am not a fan of. You guys know that. He can kick his own ass. It's very nice, but, you know, it looks very ugly from the front, I'll reiterate there. Aside from that, he does have the classic Black Series forward-facing pin for rocker, as well as the hinge, which gets you plenty of forward and plenty of back. Overall, you know, character selection-wise, I think it's great. Black Series is getting Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon back into the line currently. I know Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon were getting up in price there a little bit. But before I ramble on too much, let's get these guys posed up with their accessories so we can get them fighting. All right, let's start off with Qui-Gon again here. So, like I said, he does have that peg in the lightsaber hilt. It lets the lightsaber sit nicely on the belt. It passes the shake test, and it looks really nice there. Aside from that, though, we're not lame here. We have lightsabers in hand for our Jedi, so we'll put this in the hand, and we'll get it in his right hand here, because Jedi typically do a cross draw with their lightsabers. The lightsaber fits nicely into Qui-Gon's right hand, and again, passes the shake test, looks great. We'll set Qui-Gon off to the side here. Let's get Darth Maul's lightsaber in his hand. Darth Maul, again, being a little bit more extra, a little bit more involved. You have to plug both blades into the lightsaber hilt. There are some times where I think, you know, it's actually easier with Darth Maul to take the lightsaber apart, push one end of it through the hand and then just connect it again, rather than trying to mess around with the gumminess of the lightsaber, because it just can, you know, be warped when it comes out of the packaging. It can fall apart while you're trying to pose them with it, which can lead to some frustration. So it's honestly easier to take it apart and then put it back together. And that sits very nicely in his right hand, and he's got some very, very nice grip passing the shake test as well. I should also mention that Darth Maul has the peg hole on the right side of his belt. This one is very hard to keep the lightsaber in. You kind of have to angle it backwards or forwards. It passes the shake test, but if you bump it even just a little bit, it's going to be moving all around and falling out. So, you know, not that anyone's going to really be having their Phantom Menace Darth Maul with his lightsaber on his belt, but if that's something that, you know, you choose to do because you're a special snowflake, you know, then it is what it is. But just be weary of that if that's something that you decide to do. And finally, we'll check out Obi-Wan here. So Obi-Wan does have the peg again on the left side of the belt. That fits very snugly in there, even more snugly than Qui-Gon's does. And of course, that's going to pass the shake test. Looks great on the belt, doesn't look too big or too small. We'll grab that nice deep blue lightsaber blade there, and we will get this in the hand. This looks awesome in the hand. Again, passes the shake test. Let's get these guys posed up with their lightsabers so we can have them fight. And here we've got our figures in some very nice lightsaber holding poses here. Darth Maul doing his iconic pose from the beginning of the Duel of the Fates. And surprisingly, I was worried that Qui-Gon wasn't going to be able to get a two-handed lightsaber pose. He can. We already know Obi-Wan can. Let's get these guys dueling. And here we've got these guys duking it out as a group. You knew these guys were going to look cool. This is definitely worth picking up. And here I've got these guys in some one-legged walking and running poses here. And these guys look great. I'm imagining that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are chasing after Maul as he's leading them to the inevitable place where Qui-Gon will meet his end. Overall, this is a fantastic 3-pack. If you missed out on Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and you're a newer collector, this is a fantastic way to get these characters, as well as the brand new Darth Maul figure, which for me is a 10 out of 10 figure. With that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did and you're not yet subscribed, subscribe to Blitz Transmissions. I've got awesome Star Wars content coming out all the time. Make sure to check out my social media, all of which is linked in the description below. That's going to be all for this review, guys. I'll catch you for the next one, and may the Force be with you.